the best.
Hello everybody, Film Trigger here. My name is Stevie Cade, and this is my official review of Rambo Last Blood.
This is what it feels like.
Okay, so this movie is kind of a mess, but it's wrapped in a pretty bow of carnage awesomeness. But it ultimately fails as a send-off to Rambo. Except I'm not so sure that this is a real send-off, or I'm not so sure they think it's a real send-off. I don't know if they know if it's a real send-off or not. We'll get into that. So I can see where they tried to play off the First Blood style character study of the war veteran who with severe PTSD.
You're dealing with an expert, with guns, with knives, with his bare hands.
And in that light, they did pretty well at first. Showing an older Rambo exercising, therapeutic techniques that help keep his mind busy. Like him forging his own blades, and horse training, and tunnel digging. But right out of the gate, you understand where Rambo is at mentally. And they even had a nice balance to the grit of Rambo. And that was through a young woman named Gabrielle, which was played by Yvette Monreal.
Uncle John!
And her grandmother, who is kind of the housekeeper, if you will. And they are used as an attempt to add heart to this movie by essentially giving Rambo a family.
I finally came home to defend the only family I've ever known.
Kind of like they did in Logan. There's a lot of parallels with Logan. So Gabrielle leaves to Mexico to find her father, which that storyline is pointless because it goes absolutely nowhere. She gets kidnapped by a Mexican cartel to be sold in the underground sex trafficking circuit. So this causes Rambo to go to Mexico to find Gabrielle, and he ends up finding her kidnapper instead. And then he uses a series of Grinch-worthy torture tactics that cause the kidnapper to tell Rambo where she is. And this is a setup. This is an obvious setup. I feel like Rambo should have known that this was a setup. But either way, there he is. So Rambo gets his ass kicked by the cartel, but they let him live because otherwise the movie would have ended. That's the only reason why I can think they let him live. They try to use the ruse of, I'm going to torture Gabrielle and I want you to know that it's your fault for the rest of your life, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they just needed a reason to let him go. I feel like they could have done a lot better by letting Rambo, I don't know, still get bloodied and bashed, but, by the last second he jumps off the fucking building or something. Something completely different than they're just going to let him go. Either way, neither here nor there. Moving forward. So a random journalist finds Rambo, cleans his wounds, and nurses him back to health. And he has a new friend. Which ends up being another dead-end storyline, because it goes absolutely nowhere. I think you can see a pattern here. Rambo goes to the underground sex house where Gabrielle is being kept at, and we are treated to another extremely violent altercation. But Rambo finds Gabrielle, and he scoops her up, and he takes her back home. And she dies on the way home as a result to the abuse and drugs they exposed her to. And it's a pretty effed up, sad moment. And this was a really good opportunity for Sylvester Stallone to really show his acting chops. But he didn't. He was kind of stone-faced, emotionless during this entire scene. But now, Warrior Rambo is triggered.
I'm gonna tear you apart.
And he amps himself up to 11 by going back to the cartel. Ends up infiltrating one of the safe houses of one of the two main cartel bosses. And that's where he decapitates the dude and leaves a breadcrumb trail of body parts that lures the cartel to his house that he has given the Home Alone House of Horrors treatment to. Now, a little side note here, I did a rewind review of the 2009 Friday the 13th where I compared Jason Voorhees to Rambo in the sense that he uses a series of underground tunnels and booby traps to take down the trespassers. Now, that video I did a few weeks ago before I saw this movie, And this movie proves that I am correct, because that's exactly what Rambo does. He uses a series of underground tunnels and booby traps to take down the trespassers, which he does successfully, with no problems at all. Literally, no issues. Just murders everyone. He even uses the Zombieland number 2 rule of double tap quite effectively. Columbus would be proud. So this leads to the fatality-style execution of the main baddie, where Rambo literally rips his heart out. And then Rambo sits in a rocking chair. Roll credits. There is kind of a mid-credit scene, if you will, where we see Rambo riding off into the sunset on horseback, leaving the ending open to a possible 6th movie. So obviously my overall thoughts is they tried to copy and paste the Logan storyline, in which they should, because that was a good storyline to follow. But part of what made Logan successful was the hard R, gory scenes, on top of good storytelling and heart. This movie was missing the good storytelling and heart. It had the other crap, but the only heart this movie had was the one that you saw pumping in Rambo's hands after the final battle, if you can call it a battle. The final massacre, slaughter, if you will, would be a better way to describe that. But even David Mornell, who wrote the original Rambo book and even promoted the movie up until its release, had this to say: I agree with these Rambo Last Blood reviews. The film is a mess. Embarrassed to have my name associated with it. That had to sting. Looks like Rambo's not the only one ripping hearts out of chests. So now, if you want to go see this movie just to watch a guy named Rambo fuck shit up in an action-packed gore fest, then this movie is for you. Because it does deliver on that promise, and it does a really good job at it. But it fails to deliver on the storytelling and giving us the heart of the movie. It tried in the beginning, it really did try, but it fell short. And because of that is why I give this movie a C.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It
though.
could have been a lot better.
So what did you think of Rambo? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments section below. And while you're there, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell ding thing so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Alright? Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace. Where I said Jason Voorhees is fucking Rambo. No. Not Jason Voorhees is you know what? I'm gonna redo that.